Has Tory Nichols fallen from grace and can no longer be redeemed? This is the main question that is being asked going into Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2. Despite Robby and others trying to help her, there may be no hope of saving the All-Valley champion. This is the downfall of Tory Nichols. Let's talk about her upbringing, why she rejoined Kreese, should she have fought Sam, and more. Let's recap what we know about Tory so far. Since this is a continuation of my previous video, Why Tory is Still a Champion, I'm only going to recap the events of her arc in Season 6 Part 1. Feel free to skip ahead to avoid the recap, but be warned, you may miss some important details later on in the video. Tory has officially joined Miyagi-Do, but has some trouble adjusting to her new surroundings, especially with her former rival Sam. However, the two find common ground, helping Robby convince Kenny to join the dojo. Despite being friendly, Sam and Tory have trouble wanting to fight each other again, and Johnny hatches an idea with Devin to have the two reignite their feud during a sleepover. While this doesn't work out, the two finally resolve their issues, apologize for their past actions towards each other, and no longer hold back during their spars. Tory goes on to be the first pick for Miyagi-Do's team for the Sekai Taikai, and her mother's health has improved. Despite initial temptations from Kreese, Tory stays with Miyagi-Do and makes a deal with Robby to stick together to win the tournament. However, Grace passes away due to a pulmonary embolism, deeply affecting her daughter, who regresses into an unhealthy mental state. This causes her to be noticeably more aggressive during her fight with Sam for the girls' team captain spot, which Amanda and Daniel put a stop to. Thinking Kreese was right about the LaRussos, Tory quits the dojo and resurfaces at the tournament as the female captain for Cobra Kai. First, let's talk about Tory's upbringing. I feel like this is worth talking about as it gives us some insight into her character from the earlier seasons. In Best of the Best, we see a flashback where Tory is spending time with her mom, as the two had a very close relationship. Grace instilled a strong sense of independence in her daughter at a very early age, as it's implied that they were not only abandoned by Mr. Nichols, but that he also abused his wife as well. Even when life deals a bad hand, Tory's mother says that they can learn to be fighters, even if they don't know how to right away. This comes full circle to a conversation that Tory and Miguel had in Take a Right. Tory's mom would bring home food from her job to get by, and this also rubbed off on Tory on having to fight for everything that she wants. As I'll talk about in one of the upcoming sections of the video, this is why she identifies with a lot of Kreese's teachings. The world doesn't show mercy, so why should we? Miguel's understanding of Tory's point of view in this scene is why he gives her so much grace in Season 5, and is what gets Sam to understand. Both of them had single mothers do their best to provide for their children, lacking a father figure in their life. Not everyone gets dealt the same hand, and even Amanda tried to tell this to Sam as well. Fortunately, Sam was able to come around and listen to Tory in Survivors. This difficult upbringing is also why Johnny empathizes with her, as he lost his mother and went on a downward spiral because of it. I'm not entirely sure if Johnny knew about her upbringing and difficult past, but one can't deny it makes them that much more similar. Let's also talk about why she rejoined Kreese. Funny enough, in my first Tory video, I talked about why she was so loyal to Kreese, and even pointed out in the introduction that she was Cobra Kai for life. I won't rehash too much of what I said in the previous video, but I will quickly summarize that Kreese was present when Tory first joined, as he made the dojo look strong in Valley Fest, taught a philosophy that Tory identified with, and related to him on a personal level, as he also had a sick mother, and even helped her financially, making her that much more loyal to him. Kreese also filled that role of a father figure to Tory like he did with Johnny, though at least seems to be learning from his mistakes with Lawrence in some areas. Bringing us to Season 6, Kreese was able to sow some seeds of doubt in Tory's mind, much like he did with Johnny at Matchpoint. When push comes to shove, they'll always figure out a reason to keep you second fiddle to LaRusso's kid. Now, Nichols does stand her ground and tells Kreese to leave, standing strong on her belief that she's at home with her new friends and boyfriend. However, due to Tory's mother passing away, her old mindset comes back with her headspace, and she is blinded by her trauma. She remembers Kreese's words about how the LaRussos would make sure she's second fiddle and believes them to be true at that moment. Tory also thinks that nobody would understand, not realizing that Daniel had lost both his father and Mr. Miyagi, and Johnny lost his mother. Johnny's comment accusing Daniel of taking sides is what sticks the final nail in the coffin. Before this scene, there was some foreshadowing. Near the end of Sleeper, as Quan warms up the students, Kreese states, "But there's still one more piece of the puzzle left," which immediately cuts to a shot of Tory. This is parallel to how in Season 3, Kreese states they're going to need a new champion, which cuts to Tory. In the episode of Underdogs, when Johnny and Daniel discuss who their pick should be for the team at LaRusso Auto, the latter questions, Tory's skills are undeniable, but is she balanced enough to commit to Miyagi-Do? It's also worth pointing out that as Robby and Tory train, Nichols says that she doesn't want anyone to know about her confrontation with Kreese. Had she told her senseis about this, I think this could have prevented her from rejoining Cobra Kai. Another detail I noticed on rewatching is that when Kreese blocks Tori's kick in the garage, she tries hard to suppress her smile. Whichever team she is on, Tori intends to win the tournament to honor her mother, even if that means joining Kreese. Here's the main question about Tori. Should she have fought Sam in her headspace? While it may have helped her out to a degree, I'm leaning towards no. Some people would bring up that yes, Daniel suggested fighting it out would have been the best way to resolve his differences with Johnny, and how it helped both Robby and Miguel. However, while both were angry during this fight, both of them knew it would have been a bad idea to cause another serious injury and repeat the cycle that started back at the school fight. This explains why Robby knew that fighting to the finish was a bad idea and attempted to convince Tori of this. Nichols was too blinded by her trauma and resorted back to her old Cobra Kai style of fighting, evident by bouncing on the balls of her feet as she did at the All Valley, attempting to fake out Sam again like she also did at the tournament. This is the first time we see Tori do this in Season 6 Part 1, as compared to before, she has regressed into her old mindset. Some other subtle clues are the fact that during the fight, she clearly fights more aggressively, not even waiting for Johnny to say go during the second point, and attacking once again as she struck Sam for the first point, shocking not only Daniel and Amanda, but also Robby and Sam. After Sam's second point and right after Amanda gets a call from the hospital, you can hear a distant growl as Tori gets into her stance, which then cuts to Sam realizing something is wrong with her opponent. Nichols would have most likely scored the point, but if you notice in the background, she nearly would have knocked LaRusso off the sparring deck. The situation is made worse because of Johnny and Daniel's disagreements leading up to this point, with Johnny being insistent that he's the ref and knows what he's doing, though he didn't call the warning unless Daniel said something, but to his credit, he did show some concern when Tori was going for her second point. Tori also tries to plead her case to Amanda, knowing that she would agree with her, as she advocated for helping Tori in the past, but Mrs. LaRusso explains she's not in her right mind, causing Nichols to forget all the good the LaRusso family did for her due to her belief that she should have fought it out. It's also worth pointing out that even when Daniel stopped the fight, Sam was still ready to go and only didn't want to fight when she realized Grace passed away. Before the fight, some other people noticed that Tori was off. Both Devin and Amanda noticed this, and it's not until the phone call is made that she gets her husband to stop the fight. Like her former rival, it's likely that Tori now has PTSD due to her mother's death, as she has flashbacks to seeing her mother's body when seeing Sam's fist out for a fist bump. Similar to what I talked about in my Why Sam is a Polarizing Character video, the reemergence of Tori's aggressive behavior would indicate this, along with her difficulty expressing positive emotions to Robby and feeling detached from family and friends who no longer understand her. I will say some signs foreshadow that Tori would have won the fight before her mother's passing. During Johnny's balance exercise, both Miguel and Sam were starting to fail the challenge, with the latter falling into the water. Also, Mike Barnes called out both Tori and Robby's names first after they captured the flag challenge, foreshadowing that the two would have won their respective fights and become captains of Miyagi-Do. Granted, they both still became captains, just not in the way we expected. I'd also like to briefly talk about Tori's new friendship with Sam. Initially, the two kept their distance in regards to training, with Tori keeping close to Robby during the dojo's name unveiling. Tori and Sam are also in an awkward place at golf and stuff, with the former having reservations about teaming up with their old rival and learning a completely new karate philosophy. However, despite the conversation about college, the two find common ground as they support Robby convincing Kenny to join Miyagi-Do. During the girls' confrontation with Kenny, Tori takes Sam's words to heart that everyone has a home at Miyagi-Do, it doesn't matter what happened in the past, prompting her to open up with a joke about having fought Sam so much that she learned Miyagi-Do. During the outro, we see Tori learning kata directly from Sam. The friendship continues at the start of Sleeper, as Nichols helps LaRusso with the flowers during the baby shower. During their first spar, Tori notably bows keeping her head down, indicating that she's nervous and is holding back from attacking Sam. She rightly questions about things being better when she and Sam hated each other and decides to leave the slumber party early. As they wait for their Uber, the two finally hash things out and talk about their past. Ultimately, while they both had their faults, Tori felt like an outcast and Sam never apologized for it. LaRusso finally does, saying she was jealous and distrustful, admitting that she had made some bad calls in the past. Initially, Tori puts up a fight with, "Yeah, well," but apologizes as well, expressing deep regret about what she did to Sam's arm, and agrees that the rivalry is over. Tori accepts Sam's hug and begins to weep, as the two hold their embrace and no longer hold back during their spars. Signifying the start of their new friendship, Tori even stands next to Sam as they find out about the Sekai Taikai taking place in Spain this year. In Underdogs, the four of them start to also walk to classes together as they casually talk about who they think will make the team. It's also worth pointing out that Sam realized that Tory's win was tainted and that they should both fight for closure, even going on to say may the best woman win before they fight. It's a shame to see this friendship end so quickly, but maybe there will be some hope in the future. Here are my final thoughts on Tori and what we can expect to see from her in the future. While things look bleak for her character, there may be some hope. As I talked about in my What Will Happen in Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2 video, Tori and Robby will likely have a conversation at the bar. Perhaps she'll finally confide in how she feels about her mother's passing to Keen and attempt to rejoin Miyagi-Do. It's too early to tell, but I do feel sympathy for her character, as like others before her, she is being taken advantage of by Kreese. We're bound to see at least one final fight between her and Sam for closure, whether that's in the tournament or outside of it. Peyton List has stolen the show once again with her phenomenal acting, and only time will tell what will become of Tori in Season 6 Part 2. Another Cobra Kai member haunted by their trauma is Terry Silver. Thanks to Kreese, the worst was brought out in him once again, and he became even more ruthless than before.